Now, we've heard some more chilling stories from Britain and Scandinavia in particular about the police becoming acutely political under the influence of political correctness and under the influence of Muslim officers trying to intimidate critics of Islamic extremism. But not in Canada. This wouldn't happen here. Well, Tariq Fatah, you may know, he certainly thinks so. And now, Jewish Defense League leader Meir Weinstein, he seems to agree. Welcome to you. Now, let's explain what the Jewish Defense League is, because I think years ago, it was thought of as being very much on the edge of the Jewish community, quite extreme, even violent. But the past 10 or 15 years, particularly in Canada, you're part of the mainstream.
Yeah, but I was involved with the Jewish Defense League the late 70s and in the 80s. And in fact, I gave the original evidence that led to the prosecution and conviction of Ernst Zundel.
Yeah.
So
you think even back then you weren't a bunch of extremists?
No, we were into exactly how the Prime Minister of Canada says, to expose and confront groups that are threats.
Okay. I mean, what I've known of you in recent years is you'll always be there at a demonstration. You will show a muscular resistance to extremism, but I've never seen you initiate violence or anything like that.
We don't. We believe in obeying the law and relying on the police.
Right. And we should also explain there are other breakaway groups from the original idea of Rabbi Meir Kahana, the other forms of JDL, other initials involved, and there's Kach as well. But you are the Jewish Defense League of Canada. Now, so nice guy, law-abiding guy, and all that. And a lot of your members and supporters are incredibly mainstream. Not all Jewish, by the way.
Right.
What happened?
Well, about 2.5 weeks ago, I got a phone call mid-morning from one of the people from the Jewish Defense League. It says that 2 RCMP officers came to his home and wanted to interview him. Shortly after that, I got other phone calls from other people from the Jewish Defense League saying exactly the same thing. And then I received a phone call just an hour after that from Peel Regional Police saying they'd like to interview me. They said that they received an anonymous tip about a threat to an Arab institution in Mississauga. And I went and spoke to the police. The interviews lasted for over 2 hours.
How many members of the organization were visited by the police?
There were 7, and there were altogether 9 people interviewed, but 7 from the JDL. One was the 8th, was a friend of a JDL member who he met walking his dog in the dog park.
Just a friend who he met.
Went to see this guy called George and spoke to him for 2 hours, and then they went to someone's husband also at work.
If they're interviewing someone met by a JDL member in a park while walking his dog, that would lead me to believe that there's surveillance taking place.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of an anonymous tip that someone was going to attack an Arab institution in Mississauga. Now, let's be quite realistic here. Bomb attacks, violence, every single day coming from Arab and Muslim groups to all sorts of people. You don't hear that much about Jews in North America blowing other people up, do you?
No, you don't. You don't, and you won't.
So, 9 people in all, interviewed for up to 2 hours, at home, at work. Where were the visits taking place?
Home and work.
Were the visits to work announced?
They call and they announce. They say, we'd like to. We're from the police. I'm Sergeant so and so or Constable whoever, and we'd like to interview you and so forth. So okay, well, let me look at my schedule. When is good and this and that. I could free up some time today. Well, we're actually in your parking lot. Okay, then come in.
So they're lying.
What?
But when the cops visit someone at work, I've known people who've lost their jobs simply because they said, this looks really bad.
Yeah.
You call the police. If your bike is stolen, forget it. I mean, a kid can be beaten up, and then I'm not here to bash the police, but come on. I mean, I know cops. There's a phrase used, forget it, drive on. The first word isn't actually forget. But how many, the RCMP, Peel Police, that's the region outside of Toronto, 9 people visited, 2 hours and more. That seems very excessive. If it's a genuine bomb attack has taken place, of course, but one anonymous tip that something's going to happen?
And no information given to us about, we know nothing. We've been asking, what are you talking about, and so on and so forth, and Haven't got a clue what they're even talking about. But what I do know is that Jewish Defense League and myself personally have been the recipient of numerous threats that we've brought it to the attention of the police, and nothing, not a word.
We can go beyond that. I was in the hospital with Tariq Fatah, bless him, where he's now cancer-free. When we first knew he had cancer.
That's good.
I was there when 2 officers came in. He had a direct threat of death from an identified Somali woman.
Right.
And the cops came in, one of them a Muslim officer,
right,
who then decided they wouldn't charge. Right. There was an attempt to physically assault me at York University by an anti-Zionist zealot.
Yep.
Now, I was quite fortunate. One of my closest friends was with me, who happens to be European judo champion and a bodyguard. However, if he hadn't have been there, I would have had to confront it. He ran at me 7 or 8 times.
Right.
The cops refused to do anything about it. We're not going to press charges.
Right.
This happens over and over again. I receive death threats. You receive far more than I ever do.
Yep.
All of this because an anonymous phone call possibly made by someone. This seems to be massively over the top.
Totally.
Are they intimidating you?
It is very, you know, when you're being interviewed by the police, and one of the first questions they ask you is, what year did you come to this country? Well, I'm born here.
They ask you what year you came to this country?
Yeah, so it's very insulting also, some of the
What did you say when they asked you such a stupid question?
I said, I'm born here. My parents came here from Europe. My father's a Holocaust survivor. And
why didn't you tell them to mind their own bloody business?
It was unbelievable.
Why didn't you say mind your own bloody business?
I couldn't believe it that this was going on. Because I like to be as much of a gentleman as possible with the police and try and work with the police because we're tackling serious issues here.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but a friend, a mutual acquaintance from the Canadian Hindu advocacy group, a small man, Hindu, the cops went to see him.
That's
and they first of all, they were trying to use Hebrew words, which they couldn't pronounce. They didn't know what the group was.
Right.
And then they said to him, have you had any military training?
Right.
With all due respect to him, a strong gust of wind will blow him over.
Right.
This seems, is it stupidity? Is it malice? Is it just political correctness? Is someone pulling strings here?
I think so. I think so. I've forwarded to the police. There was, in fact, a meeting that I was told about in August with people on the radical left that were plotting to really get the JDL, to follow them, get their license plates, numbers, places of work, home, everything, and really harass them. And the individuals I was told that were at this meeting are crazy to do anything. Okay. And they're all connected with the groups that we've been protesting against and exposing.
Radical Palestinian groups and Muslim groups and so on.
Yeah, there's, I mean, we're ruffling a lot of feathers there.
What I want you to do, I want you to tell me if any of this happens again, and I also advise that you video this in future. You have that right, and if the cops come to see you, you video this. And could you imagine if, to a Muslim group, if an officer said, when did you come to this country?
Yeah.
I want to understand what the reason is for that question, and so please keep us informed.
Absolutely.
All right, we're not going to let this go. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, thank you.